evening, everyone, and welcome to this kickoff call for Bird Grantees. It's a real honor to have you here this evening, for us evening, and for you, I hope most of you midday. As the latest new grantees for the Bird Foundation. The purpose of today's meeting is beyond greeting you and joining the family of Bird Grantees, is to share with you some information about what it means to be a Bird Grantee and the process that we'll be going together in the next few weeks, months, and hopefully many years to come. I will soon introduce my colleagues from Bird who are on the call, and we'll ask all our guests to introduce themselves as well. But before that, I do want to point out two important points that will be actually further elaborated on and by my colleagues later on, but I think are important emphasizing. One is the reminder that the Bird Foundation is all about cooperation and constructive and cooperation between US and Israeli companies working together on an innovative project. And that together part was something we emphasize a lot, is something that makes the difference between good and successful projects and projects that fail. I assume most of you know that the Bird Foundation has been around now for 47 years. So we've seen close to 1,200 of these projects, and we've analyzed, obviously, what makes a successful project and what makes for a less successful project. And the one dominating factor in projects that are less successful is something went wrong in the cooperation between the parties. And sometimes those are strategic issues, sometimes those are technical differences, and sometimes it's just people that didn't find a way to work well together. And I'm pointing this out at this stage just to emphasize how important it is to make sure that that part of the work is covered, and emphasize that we are, as we are aware of this, one of our roles going forward in this process is to help you, if necessary, to overcome any differences, to overcome any misunderstandings, and guide you through this process. Second point has to do with the very near future. You all being approved for a grant just a couple of weeks ago, and what stands between you and getting the first payment and starting to work is some agreements that need to be worked on and signed, and you all have received the data and letters about that. You have to complete your bilateral agreement between you, and you have to complete the CPFA between the two companies and the Bird Foundation. That time to work on that legal stuff is obviously, from a perspective of what we all want to do, a waste of time. It's time not used productively to create innovative products. It's time that we want to get done out of the way as fast as possible. And I want to emphasize, again, we know that sometimes legal agreements take a while, and lawyers get involved, and they make a living of getting into the details, and we respect that. But we are committed to try to get this process done as soon as possible and as easy as possible. And we encourage you to try to do that within your organizations as well, so that we get this done and can start the real work, which is what we're here all about. And with that, I want to move on to the introduction of the Bird team before I'll ask you to introduce yourselves. With us on the call are the team both here in Israel and in the United States. Starting from myself, which I should have introduced to start with, and I'm Yaron Lotan. I'm the executive director of the foundation. I've had the pleasure of meeting some of you in person in this process, but obviously not all of you. With us is a person who all of you have communicated with already, Chava Duchan, our operations manager. She is your main interface on all the operations that you'll go through definitely in the next few weeks on the agreements and getting things done. Nina, who is our executive assistant, is actually not on the call because she is on vacation this week. Maha, responsible for information systems and a lot of other things. All of you who have had the pleasure working with our upload system may have had already help from Maha, but she is there for you to, and you'll have the pleasure of getting her help as you move on. Natalie is our CFO. With her in her team are Tal Madhala, who is here on the call, and Oriane, who is on maternity leave and will be coming back soon. Then we have three people who we call PBCs, the Prime Bird Contact, who are every one of those of the projects within the Bird Foundation has one of them assigned as their prime contact. Tal Kelem, Limor, Nakar Vincent, and Omer Carmel. And last but not least, our three representatives in the United States, going from west to east on the West Coast, Anat Bujanover, who covers the west part of the country, in Texas, in Austin, Anat Ben Yosef, and on the East Coast, Andy Yona, who covers East Coast and Midwest. And with that, I'm going to ask you, every one of you, to present yourself. What I'd like to ask is that you present yourself and a few short words about your project and your Israeli partner. Starting, we have them ordered by alphabetical order of the Israeli company name, just because that's how we have it on the slide when we did the meeting with Israeli companies last week. Starting from Gleason, please. You have to unmute them somehow.
Hello and good morning, good afternoon. My name is Jordan Glasgow. I'm with Gleason Corporation and I'm serving as the project manager, responsible for the bird funded project here. My role is here with Gleason in new product development, and our project is dealing specifically with sensors for a quote smart machine platform for condition and machine health monitoring.
Thank you. Molex, Roy, I assume. Molex. Yeah.
Okay, I was blocked by the host. Good morning, evening, afternoon, everyone. My name is Roy. I'm representing Molex, teaming together with CyberEdge to develop a high-speed optical cryptography system. Molex is the US company, CyberEdge is the Israeli company. We are working together with CyberEdge for a few years now, and we are pleased to work with them on their next generation and our next generation system.
Thank you,
On the
Roy.
call, there are two more Molex people right now. Jeff is our legal and Lillian is our financial partners. They are on the call right now and pleased to be here.
Yeah, thank you, and please, whoever introduces next, if you have other people on the call, please introduce them as well. Thank you.
Yaron, we
Yes.
also have your Eyal from CyberRidge joined the meeting.
Yes, Eyal, whoa.
You need to unmute him, I think.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
Hi,
Hi, hello.
Oh, he's muted again.
he's muting again.
Hello.
Yeah.
Can you
Yeah,
hear me?
okay.
Now we can hear you.
Hello. I'm happy to be here among the winners of Bird this year. I'm the CTO and co-founder of CyberRidge. We are into optical encryption on optical fibers, and we partnered Molex, which Rory just presented here. And that's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is PHVC. Do we have someone? Are we missing people from PHVC? Or you can't get them on mute? Ma?
They can unmute themselves.
Okay.
Hello, I'm David Asbell from MUSC Central Office. I'm not really sure, we're not familiar with with the project itself, but we're here to help with the award processing and management from the university side.
Thank you. Permanente Healthcare.
Heather Ferguson, Assistant Director of Office of Research and Sponsored Programs at MUSC. We've been helping with the contract, but like David said, the program lead on this is Andrea, who's on the call.
Hey everyone, sorry, I think I missed my my call out, but my name is Andrea Passer. I am an internal consultant at the Medical University of South Carolina, working on the QIMD project, which is an AI-based clinical platform, clinical pathways platform. So thank you for having us.
Thank you. And Indigo.
Hey, everybody. AJ Kumar, Vice President of Sustainability Sciences at Indigo Ag. I'm joined here by Don Nelson, who's one of our technical product leaders and is going to be our main point of contact for the program on our side. We're working with Groundwork BioAg in Israel on developing a novel joint microbial product for agriculture that will combine our microbes for nutrient use efficiency and better N production in plants to reduce nitrous oxide emissions with Groundwork's mycorrhizal fungi for soil carbon sequestration to create a new product for ag that will both improve agronomic impacts as well as reduce climate impacts.
Thank you. And Blue Qubit.
Hi, everybody. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Blue Qubit. We're a California-based quantum software company specializing in quantum software for enterprises and algorithms. As part of Bird, we'll be working with Quantum Art, which is an Israeli quantum hardware company building trapped ion quantum computers. And we'll be working together to build software and tailor specifically for the Quantum Art's quantum computers, focused on quantum machine learning use cases. Super excited for the next 2 years of working together.
Thank you. Did I miss anyone that is on the call and did not introduce themselves? Any of the Israeli companies? No. Okay, so we'll move right ahead. And I want to ask Natalie, who CFO, to present some issues regarding the work processes from her perspective. Go ahead.
So hi, and again, nice to meet you and to have you all here on our meeting. I'll go over the steps and the procedures, what to do next towards signing the CPFA, and some general instructions on the work with us after signing the agreement. I'm just waiting for the presentation. Okay, almost there.
Let me try again. Okay.
Good. Okay, so the CPFA, that's the term that you use for the Corporation and Project Funding Agreement. That's the agreement that you've already received from us. It is a standard agreement between us and the two companies that will be performing the project. There's a few sections here that I'll go over them. The main thing to remember here is that it is a standard agreement. So we expect it to be signed by the companies as is, or at least, at most, to have some minor requests for modifications. There may be some adjustments, but again, don't go into too many details because it's usually very time consuming, the process of asking for revisions, asking for our input, and we end up with a very similar agreement as we started with. So it should be taken as is. It may require some clarifications. We'll be happy to have a call and explain all the sections that we have in the CPFA. Next, please. Before signing the CPFA, there are some additional work that needs to be done. First of all, there's the bilateral agreement between the two companies. This is the agreement that should establish the relationship between the companies during the project and some discussion of a future relationship. That means the commercial part, commercial dealings after the completion of the project. We have a template with some on our website with some suggestions as to which topics and sections could be discussed in this bilateral. By no means, you don't need to take it as is. You don't need to take all sections. You don't need to take, you can, it is just a reference from our experience of what usually important to companies and what they just give you some ideas what should be in there. We ask to see the draft of this agreement just to make sure that it is in line with the commitments in the CPFA. Most of the bilateral is not relevant to us. We just review it, but just the sections that interact with the CPFA would like to see that it is all aligned. We also sent all private companies a financial status agreement analysis that is an Excel, 2 pages Excel sheet. Here we would like to see that you have the sources to finance the project for the duration of the project, which is usually 2 years. Since you'll be providing the full funding for the project and we will be reimbursing you for up to 50% of the expenses, would like to see that you have those resources. Some companies, startups that may not have all cash at hand right now, we will consider also future fundraising rounds, but everything needs to be described in this analysis so we can come back to you and ask for additional information, explanation. Another item is the adjustment of budgets. Both budgets should total exactly twice the grant. In the proposal, you've submitted budgets that probably exceeded twice the grant that you were awarded. For example, a grant of 1 million, both budgets should be adjusted to add up to 2 million. So both companies need to scale down their budgets more or less in the same proportion as in the proposal and to reflect exactly twice the grant. The program plan and milestones, they should start on what we call the effective date. The effective date is the start date of the project. In the proposal, you had those milestones and the Gantt chart, but you didn't have the commencement date. Now you should start at the effective date. The date should be meaningful in a sense that it is a date that you start performing tasks and accumulating expenses. You can take the date back up to 3 months prior to signing the CPFA. So if you more or less know where you're heading with the CPFA and you already started the work, the effective date can reflect that sooner date. All those items, in addition to general information that appeared in our letter, you should send back to us. You don't need to wait until everything is completed. Just start sending it to us. And once everything is completed and reviewed, we'll be issuing a CPFA for the companies to sign. Please. Okay. In the CPFA, you'll see Annex B. And now it appears as an empty annex. Limor, please, next slide. But once it's completed, here's an example of what Annex B would look like. So you'll see that is an example of a 12-month project where you have 2 segments. So first you'll have an amount for a down payment. Each company will see its own amount that it will be entitled to. Then you'll see that the second payment will be paid after submission of the reports for the first segment. So here you'll see that there is a required expenditure. If the fiscal report of each company reaches this required expenditure, you'll see the amount that you will be entitled to receive. That will be a down payment towards the next segment, the second segment. And then there's a final payment. We don't specify the amount. It is the complementary amount for the full award. Next, please. Here's an example of Annex E. That's the schedule of milestones and deliverables. You'll see that here you need to fill out the dates. Next, please. The reporting requirements appears in the section C of the CPFA. It details what you're obliged to submit to us within the project. So every 6 months, each company should submit a fiscal report of its own expenses and also a joint technical report. So altogether, there should be 3 reports fully signed by each company. Those reports should be uploaded to our website and uploaded. Also, there's a final set. Upon completion of the last segment, you'll be required to submit a marketing report as well. The reports should be submitted within 30 days after completion of the segment. Next slide. Once we receive the reports, the PBC will review the technical report and the finance team will review the fiscal report. We also review it in conjunction. That means that if we see that there are delays in performing tasks in the technical report, we expect to see a similar reflection in the fiscal report. So those reports should be meaningful and reflect the same process and the proceedings of the segment. We may even advise on requesting an extension or a budget revision. In any case, even if we don't advise on that, if you feel that you need an extension or a budget revision, you should request it no later than 3 months prior to project completion. Next, please. We're in the fiscal section, we allow variations of up to 15% on any budget item. That means that it doesn't require any request for budget revision. If you would like to have a more meaningful revision of more than 50%, there's a procedure for that. You should write us a letter, the company that would like to request the revision, write a letter, explain the nature of the revised budget, and submit the Excel that reflects the requested new budget. We do reply. You should receive a letter from us that approves the request, or we will be asking for additional information. Next. Here you can see a brief example of a budget company that didn't ask for a budget revision. The reason that we present this example is that there are cases that companies overspend on the project, but they end up not receiving the full award. And that is an example that we see actually quite often, and it's important to notice it before you start the project. So here you'll see certain items. There was an original budget. Actual spending in some items was below budget. So we recognized the expenses as is in direct labor and in materials. In foreign expenses, you'll see that actual spending was above budget. So we can allow 15% deviation above budget. Then we have subcontractors, the same practice, 15% above budget. In consultants, there was no budget item. So there was an extra spending on 45,000, but you'll see that we didn't recognize any of this expense because there was no budget item. And then there's the general 5%. So you'll see that the actual spending of the company was 698,000. The budget was 693. So the company spent more than the budget. It should have received the full budget, but it was the recognizable amount was 628. So it ended up not utilizing the full grant. It is important to notice this because we do intend and we would like to award you the full grant. We're not trying to keep you away from the budget, but since there are some procedures that we also need to adhere to and we are also being supervised, you should be aware that you should follow the procedures in those topics. If it's unclear, you can always write us an email, communicate with us. We'll explain the procedure, and we can also instruct you on how to deal with budget revision. In section F and G, you'll see a discussion of the repayments and the future repayments and the financing of the project. In section F, in section G, we describe actually the commercial product and the derivatives and everything that is bound to be under the repayment clause. Once there is a commercial success, the repayment is 5% of the sales of the technology, derivatives, and anything that is applicable under a commercial product definition. Then there are some one-time events that also entitle us to receive repayments. That is events of outright sale of the technology or transfer of control of the company. Next, please. So here you see that if there is an outright sale of the technology, a bird may be entitled to receive up to 50% of the proceeds in the transactions, and in no case, no more than what we call the full repayment. Actually, I skipped this term, the full repayment. The maximum it can reach is 150% of the award. That will be 5 years after project completion. And sooner than that, it will be less. And that is the cap. But actual payments are based on actual sales. In outright sale, if there is a significant transaction, it may be a one-time repayment of the full award. In case of a change of control, here we would like a full disclosure, and we also need to agree to such transactions. We will be discussing with you and looking to see whether the project will continue as planned, or whether you plan to either terminate the project or maybe take a different direction in the development of the product. So we need to agree to that, and we need to agree to any assignment transactions as under this definition. So you should write us a letter, again, describing the transaction, and hear back from us as to how to deal with that. Okay, so thank you.
Thank you, Natalie. So my name is Limor, and I will talk to you a little bit about how to fill up the technical report. I want to mention that I know it's kind of overwhelming. We are filling you up with lots of details right now, but in the end of the day, this discussion is recorded. The presentation is going to be on our website. It's also going to be sent to all the companies following this meeting. And I also want to let you know that in the end of the day, we are here at the foundations to assist you, to support you in the process. You were, I don't know if you noticed, but there's about 6 projects that were awarded in our last Board of Governors. There was quite a lot of competition this time, and all those projects that were awarded were definitely voted in flying colors. So we all very hopeful and want to support you in this process and make sure that you will have very good partnerships throughout the process. So what I'm going to talk a little bit right now is a little bit about how the way we work with you to support you in the process. And hopefully by the end of it, will be also this discussion will be open for questions and answers. And obviously, if there are additional questions that you want to share with us, feel free to contact your PBC or Natalie or your own by the end of this discussion. And obviously, Chava is our who's actually orchestrating the whole process of signing the CPFA. So why do we ask you to do this technical reports and fiscal reports? In the end of the day, the foundation was established by the US government and the Israeli government. The funding comes from the public sector, from the taxpayers. And we want to make sure that the funding will be provided for you to do the project, but also will help you to navigate, since we all know how a R&D project begins, but we also know that there's a lot of changes throughout the way, and there's a lot of other challenges that you need to face through the developments. So we ask you to do this, to fill up those technical reports and fiscal reports, one for documentations. And at the end of the day, we want to make sure that the work is done according to the proposal that you submitted. And obviously, if there's any changes that needs to be made, you need to notify us. It's, as I said before, taxpayers' money. We need to be sure there is transparency. There's also an issue of accountability to make sure that the funding is used where it should be used. And it's also here the reports are also here to assist you in your decision-making process. Natalie has mentioned that during the project, there's a lot of changes that needs to be done. For example, if you want to extend the duration of the project, if you need to change the R&D task, and obviously if you need to make any revisions of the budget. A lot of the times, if you monitor the project throughout the process, you will know better where the money is spent, where do you need to move money to additional other areas of interest. For example, if you haven't used the funding on travel and you want to move it to labor, this is something that you can do as long as you let us know, explain to us, and we can approve that. And one thing which is also very, very crucial and important is really to make sure that there's a really good communication between the parties. We have worked with many companies over the years, and we know, as Yaron said before, that the most important factor in the success of a project is really the relationship between the companies. And good communications between the companies is very essential to the success. I can share with you that over the years, we've done some research trying to understand what made a project successful, what made a project less successful. And it's really the relationship between the parties that made a difference. Surprisingly or not surprisingly, the technology was not such a major factor. I mean, I think about 20% of the project usually failed because they couldn't really reach the technological objective of the project. But the majority failed because of the relationship between the companies, and also in some cases because the go-to-market strategy was either early to market or is a late to market. So communication is really a very essential part of this project, and writing together the reports and going over the R&D tasks that you have done or need to do is crucial. And it's also helped us to eventually evaluate the project, support you in where there's need for discussions or additional questions, and make sure there is a compliance. So these are the reasons why we ask you also to do this technical report as well as the fiscal report. As I mentioned before, the presentations today, as well as all the information, can be found on our website. You can find it under guidelines and forms. All the different forms that you need to fill up also exist on our website. If you cannot find it, if you have questions, please feel free to contact your PBC or point of contact at the foundation. As I said before, we are here to help you and support you in the process. I think all of you by now know that you had to submit the proposal in the upload system. The upload systems, which is a website, actually is the focal point to upload all the different reports. Each company has a username and a password. This hasn't changed. You need to use it when you actually access our upload system. If the point of contact or the project manager of this project has changed, please let us know so we can help him or her to access the upload system. You've already submitted the executive summary, the proposal, but then the next step is really enabling you to submit the different fiscal reports and the technical reports according to the segments of your project. So we ask you to submit a joint technical report that should be written by both sides, and it also should be signed by both companies. And also, we ask you to submit a separate fiscal report for each of the companies, signed by each of the company at the upload system. It's important to clarify you that the system sends us a message to review the reports only when all those reports are uploaded. I know sometimes company can submit its fiscal report, but if the technical report is not uploaded, we don't really start reviewing it at the foundation. At the foundation, the way it works, your point of contact at the foundation, your PBC, review the technical report. If there's questions, you reach out to the companies and ask those questions. And the fiscal reports are being reviewed by our financial team, Natalie, Tal Madhala, and Orion. So, but we only start to work on those reports once we have all those reports uploaded. So if there is any extension needed to submit the report, kindly let us know. We ask you to submit the reports 30 days following the end of the segment, but if there's any issues related to the timing of the submissions, kindly update us. Usually it's a kind of a red flag when we're supposed to get the reports and we don't really get it, and then we start asking questions and then we start wondering. So it also makes our life easier when you communicate with us about those reports. The technical report itself, we have very clear guidelines that you can basically upload from our website. It's pretty straightforward. There's 10 questions that we ask you to fill up. What are the objectives of the work performed for this particular segment? There's no need to share with us information about previous segments. We usually have that information and we usually review it. So there's no need to collect all the information from the beginning of the project. It's really important to focus on what you've accomplished in this particular segment that you've just completed. What are your accomplishments? What are the results? Results are actually the milestone, the deliverables. If you remember the section E that you had to submit at the proposal, and you're also going to submit it in the CPFA, the company project, basically the agreement. These are also very important for us because we follow up those deliverables and milestones. And if there is a delay, it's also written in that technical report, so we know if there is a need to maybe offer you to extend the project, or if there's any other issues that we need to address with you. You basically have to include the plans for the next segments, the Gantt chart, what you've accomplished, what not, what needs additional time, what you've done ahead of time, and obviously a section that we ask you to discuss the cooperation between the companies. There's something which is really important for us. We want to make sure that there's like a weekly or bi-weekly or monthly, whatever discussions that you guys have, that there is specific people who are in charge of this project and make sure that it's moving forward. We ask you to do a comparison of your risk analysis that you've submitted at the proposal to the current risk analysis. Projects tend to change over time. There are additional risks that you may want to add or consider adding, and there's other risks that you've probably were able to figure it out. So that helps us to also to monitor the project and find out what's the status of the project. And then we ask you to address the market and your commercialization plan. Is the market is the same as you've submitted the proposal, or maybe there were significant or not significant changes in the market that also have impact on your project. Obviously, if there's any published material like press release that you do on this project, then we ask you to include the technical report. It's important for us, since again, it is public funding, it's important for us that you will recognize that the project is supported by the Bird Foundation if you do a joint press release. But all of this information we would like to include in the technical report. The technical report does not have to be long. It has to be focused, short, and to the point. So I want to kind of clarify that. We don't expect to write a lot. This is not really the issue, but we want to kind of understand what's the status of the project. So as I said before, there's milestones and deliverables, and here that particular file that you have to include in each technical report, we ask you to elaborate on the work done, present results and achievement, address challenges and lessons learned, obviously communication challenges if there are, and also that will allow you to request for changes and modifications at the given the fact that we are committed to fund up to 50% of the project. And if there's any changes, we want you to update us ahead of time so we can address them and support you. I mentioned before the issue of cooperation between the parties, and I'm going to mention and underline a few more items because I think this is something that I'd like you to take with you when you actually start the project. Over the years, we understand that when we always start a project, there's a lot of excitement, which we hope that you will be able to maintain throughout the duration of the project. However, there's a lot of changes in the market. There's a lot of changes in the companies, changes in the leadership, and sometimes companies tend to change throughout those changes. So it's important for us that you will address and understand that how the project is significant to your partner. It's important to have relationship with more than one particular champion at the other company. It's important to have several people who are engaged with doing the project. As you all know, it's a cooperation between an American company, an Israeli company, and although we think we all speak English, doesn't mean that we all speak American, definitely not speak Israeli. So there's cultural awareness and skill diversity that we need to acknowledge throughout the process, and the sense, the strength that each party brings to these collaborations, and also understand the differences that recognize us. It's crucial and important to have discussions that continuous discussion between the different partners. It's important to address, before you even sign the cooperation or project funding agreement, how you address challenges throughout the project. It's important to do it now when the relationship is good, before we actually start and things tend to change over time. And I said before, it's always important to have formal and informal relationship. And we always believe this, like if you remember at the budget itself, there is a section regarding travel. It's important to have face-to-face meetings if possible to strengthen this formal and informal relationship. From our point of view, we know that cooperation between the companies is vital for the success of the project. And we would like you to remember that when you embark in this journey that hopefully will be successful to both parties. One more thing that I wanted to mention, and I know there were questions about that. I think all the companies received an example of the BIRD PR that we're going to publish hopefully next week. In this, as a public organizations, we need to notify the public about the project that we're awarded. And each project is going to receive one sentence describing the companies involved in the project and the topic of the project itself. I'm actually waiting for additional quotes from our stakeholders, from the chairman and the chairwoman of the foundation, so we can actually publish it. But this is basically our BIRD PR. Afterwards, we'll be more than happy if you will publish your own joint press release. If you'd like us to support you and do a joint press release with us, we'll be more than happy to do that. I have to say that the foundation is having a PR firm that support us mainly in Israel. In the United States, what we usually do when we do a joint press release with the companies, we publish it through one of those communication companies like a PR Newswire. So that's allowing us to spread a press release in the U.S. market. It's not, we don't hold a PR firm in the U.S. market, but we'll be more than happy to support you in presenting your project to the public if you're interested, and also follow up on this. Here are some examples for some press release that we've done mainly in the Israeli media. But what we do is also amplifying those press releases on our own social media. And we'll be more than happy to amplify any press release that you decide to do in our own social media and support you in the process. We have, Carl, my colleague, has a great idea that we will test it with you this time for the first time. We want to create a banner. It could be used in the social media after we publish the press release. If the companies want to publish it on our saying that the company was awarded a BIRD Foundation grant. If you're interested in doing that, we'll send you this banner. And obviously, if the companies are interested, they can use it. There's no commitment to do that, whatever you guys want to. But we know that basically presenting the project to the public can also help companies sometimes raise funding or get awareness, etc. So we're here. We can definitely help you to do that if interested. I know that not all the companies are interested. Some companies prefer to work under the radar, and that's perfectly okay with us as well. So this is when it comes to the BIRD press release. And I think all of us here wishing you great success in your endeavors to develop new technologies and hopefully bring them to market. And with that, I will stop sharing and open this for discussion.
Yeah. Thank you, Limor. This is the time where we'd be happy to take any questions you might have, or comments, or any open issues. Feel free. I think you can unmute yourself and yeah. Don?
Limor, you mentioned that there were many applicants in the current round. Are you able to share how many there were?
Yaron?
Typically we get in the beginning of a cycle, which is people submitting executive summaries, around 40, and then it goes down because not all of them submit proposals, but that kind of gives you the idea of the cycle. It's somewhere between the 35 and 45 on average.
I can say that 30% of the projects receive the award this cycle.
Thank you.
The proposal, those who submitted the proposal.
Right.
They actually submitted the proposal, correct.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
This is Rui from Olex. So again, thank you, BIRD. Good to be on this call. Good to see you guys again. I have a question about slide number 13. I took a note. That's the example that you gave over there, that the companies did not actually use all the budget that was awarded to them. And as that example over there, I'm not asking for any details numbers right now, but is there, in that example, do the companies need to do something with that specific example in order to be able to use the entire budget that was awarded to them?
Yeah.
There was a line over there, contractor, that was not budget at all. Do the companies need to apply for a budget change whenever they know that they are going to use a contractor? And if you approve it, then they should be able to expense that. It's just a yes/no question. Could the company do something in that example to be able to use all the funds that were awarded to them?
Natalie?
Yeah, the idea behind this example is actually to show you that you can take action before it happens. So the example was in case that the company didn't apply for budget revision. And it comes to show that if you do apply for budget revision, you could ask to reassign budget to subcontractors or consultants, and then you will have a budget item. So a budget item for this expense. I'm sorry about that. And that way you can fully utilize the budget. Sorry about that.
I see. Thank you very much.
Yeah, in
Understand.
principle, just to complete it, I mean, our goal is for you to use the budget that you received. And we, of course, have certain regulations. So, I mean, there is a max on a salary that we allow you to expense. We can't change that. But overall, we do understand that things change in planning. And if you submit a budget revision in time, we will typically work with you to approve it. And look for ways for you to make best use of the grant as allotted.
Understood. Thank you very much.
Perfect. Any other questions?
This is Jeff Kemp with Molex. I think it would be helpful for me if someone with BIRD could explain the high level, the meaning and intent of Section H of the CPFA around which relates to the rights of the governments of Israel and the United States. I've read it a few times. I think I know what it means, but I'd be curious to know how BIRD views it.
It's typically I would answer you. Let's do an offline call.
Sure. Yeah, I don't want to waste people's time.
No, but I will address this because this comes up a lot. So maybe people that didn't ask it, but it's still of interest. Section H actually was written almost verbatim in the original 1977 agreement between the two governments. So it's one of the only parts that we had to copy from the original agreement into this agreement, and it basically is an attempt to protect the government's rights in that the governments basically say, we fund this innovation, and we want to make sure that if we need to, we have access to it, but not in ways that are quote unquote unfair. In other words, if the product is a commercially available product, the government doesn't ask to buy it in any other way than it would normally buy it as a commercial customer or as a government customer. But so it really tries to cover the situation in which it is for some reason not commercially available, but still could be used, and the government has a specific use for it, which, by the way, is a non-military use as well. Right. So that is the origin, the source of that section. I can tell you as a fact that in the 47 years of our existence, this section has never been changed in an agreement, but has never been used as well. So there hasn't been a single occasion in close to 1,200 projects that any of the governments has made use of having this section. So it's really there. It's because the governments need it, but it has at least statistically, if you look at the history and if you read it correctly, very, very little practical implications.
Thank you. That's helpful.
Great. Any other question? Okay, so I do want to summarize by reminding us all again of something that we can't say enough, but is very important. The Bird Foundation exists to make your project successful. I mean, that's our only interest, is to help you be successful. And that has been the case from the first day we communicated with you, and will continue to be the case for any future relevant from now on. And I want to therefore emphasize the fact that, you know, we brought the whole team here today to this call so that you know them. And every one of the people on this call is basically committed to help out if necessary. Your main person of, you know, your first person of contact is always your PBC. But definitely in the United States, we have the 3 local representatives who are there to be at the same time zone as you are, and to be able to also do a face-to-face whenever is necessary. There'll be the finance department with which you will be communicating on an ongoing basis once we start moving on with the project. But feel free to use all the names that you've seen here, and you'll see them in the presentation that we'll send you. There's emails for every single one of us. And if there's ever anything that looks like we're not doing what I now said we want to do, escalate like hell. I mean, if you have to, you know, to get to me, I'm happy to deal with any grantee that needs help. But in 99% of the cases, the rest of the team will be helpful and solve any misunderstandings or issues that you have, or any help that you need to get. So with that, I want to thank you for being with us. Hopefully we'll see all of you a lot in the next 2-3 years and beyond, and wish you all success in the projects going forward. Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Good luck, everybody.
Dama, Limor, Natalie. Bye.